Hi, I'm Jason Hill.
James Blackburn.
And welcome back to No Joke Survival.
Preparations for the average family.
Now,
Hey,
Dani.
Well, we have our guest in, and
Fantastic.
Without further ado, Kristin, how about you head on in here? This is Kristin Kaserman.
Hi there.
Hey guys.
Is that right? So, I actually have to finish up our beginner's box, so I'm going to leave you to talk to. Wow, I feel short right now, so I'm going to just get on out
We'll
of
get you some
here.
heels.
All right, bye, Danny.
Thanks. So, why don't you tell us your name, a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name's Kristin Kaserman. I'm the Clinical Director of Intensive Outpatient Services at Sage Neuroscience Center.
Take a deep breath.
And I'm on Cibola Search and Rescue and do mountain extraction, search and rescue, helping people out of the mountains safely.
Fantastic. Awesome
Very
that
cool.
you're doing so much for the community and giving back. So we really appreciate that. Now, we're talking about social breakdown, and there's a lot of things that go along with that, with the mindset of people once things start kind of going bad.
Absolutely.
And so we're going to touch on a couple different things. One would be the difference maybe between what would happen in a city or out in the country, because one's going to be more affected by the other.
And it's going to depend on what sort of disaster has happened. Is it one that's primarily affecting people in the city, or more like a wildfire or a flood that's more mountainous terrain affecting the rural areas?
Absolutely, I
That's a
hadn't
good point.
considered that, you know,
Yeah.
like with Hurricane Katrina, the flooding happened in the city, but you get a wildfire out in the country, and then those people might have to leave their homes, you know. So, now, one of the things that we've heard, especially once supplies are cut off, is how quickly they disappear off the shelves, you know. Do you have a rough estimate of how that happens?
Word on the street is about 3 days and stuff is cleared out, be that medicine, food, water, any supplies you might need.
Yeah, I've seen these videos where, you know, the looting kicks in and people just rush to the stores.
Yep.
And at first they start buying stuff up, and then it gets to the point where they just running out of the store with stuff.
Yeah.
Empty shelves in a matter of days.
Mild-mannered neighbors stabbing each other, pushing each other away, taking things out of your hands. Yeah.
And it would be the same with like the gas pumps as well.
Yeah, everything would be gone really quickly. What about government intervention on a situation such as that? Would you know anything about that at all?
Well, like in some situations, the government, you know, the National Guard might be called in, or they might implement a curfew if there's gangs and looting and stuff like that.
And I'd imagine for an awful lot of Americans, that would be a difficult situation to be in, living in a city and being told you have to be in your home by dark. You're not allowed to do this and that. Culturally, that's just not the nature of America.
Yeah. Now, let's talk a little bit about the mindset, because, you know, we like to think that most people are good, but when it comes down to your basic needs of food and water, survival.
A lot of people, it's called the flexible mind, and it's important to have one in a survival situation because your will to survive needs to override any and everything else, which means I have no food, I have no water, I have no shelter. What am I going to do? Goal one, I'm going to survive. What's my first step? And people will go to amazing lengths to survive and do things you never thought possible.
Yeah, I think about it, and for a lot of people that have children, if my child was hungry and crying, you know, me who doesn't commit crime, like I would be out looking for food if I didn't have it. You know, I think it's just human nature to survive, and so when things get bad enough, the point is that laws kind of
go out the window.
They go
a
by
lot
the
of times,
wayside.
morality, ethics, they go out the window. If it's your child who's hungry, scared, in need of water, and that person has it, a lot of times people are going to just take.
Well, and then you have the other aspect of that's what happens with the good people who are in an extreme situation.
Yes.
When you take the bad people who are already bad, and now it's like a festival coming to town because they're even just going to get worse. That's where your gangs come in, they group together, and it's like, oh, you know, there's no, the cops are too busy to respond to anything or whatever, and I can do whatever I want.
They take over managing resources.
Well, and in some cases, the disaster can be so large that the law may be only surviving themselves as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got to take that into consideration too, that they are humans who also have to survive the same disaster that the rest of us are surviving. And, which leads us to them bringing in the military as a possibility and setting up the FEMA camps, right? In something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we all have heard good and bad things about.
Yeah, and we're not here to cast stones. Hopefully, resources do come in a natural disaster. We like to think that help is going to be available to us, but the idea, especially of this show, is to have our own preparations in place.
And there's a lot of peace of mind that comes with that. If I'm the one who has put together, here are my food resources, here are my firearms, here's my extra ammo or my reloading equipment, I know how to use these things and I'm comfortable using them. That's going to give me a greater peace of mind so that when faced with that situation, it's like a muscle memory. I go back into a comfort zone. I'm like, okay, goal one, I'm going to go make food. I have food. I can get my Dutch oven out. I don't need electricity. And there's already a plan in place.
Yeah.
So basically, in a social breakdown situation, peace of mind or frame of mind is a big part of it.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you give away to panic right away. I even have in a book for hiking in the mountains, it says, do not panic and run if you ever become lost. And it's sad that they have to write that in the book in the first place. But that's social, breakdown is even worse than being lost in the mountains. So,
It is.
Well, think
don't
about
panic and run.
Think about general anxiety, and your central nervous system takes over, and you're breathing up here. Big tight breaths. This is fight, flight, or freeze. And most people go into that under anxiety instead of deep, big, fat, pregnant belly breaths. And this is going to calm your central nervous system. I can go into rest and digest. So yeah, under panic, sit, take a couple deep breaths, think about, plan, and then move on with what you're going to do next.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's true because you tend to make bad decisions when you're stressed out and not thinking right.
Yeah.
And it's, oh, here, let me run out and greet the gangs and offer them some cookies. They'll befriend me, Maybe not the best decision as they
I don't
take
know.
all your stuff.
I'm Southern. I could see bringing, I've got a casserole.
But yeah, the state of mind is so critical, to keeping yourself in a good place, being able to react well, make good decisions, and you have to have that, especially in a crisis, or things just go south.
Even building up to the crisis, a lot of our media is kind of got puppeteers behind it, and we may not see stuff coming as clearly, but watching for the signs and not living in a little state of denial about the reality of what's going on.
Hey, Danny's here with our
What do you got for us?
Reality.
We have our beginner's box here.
beginner's box.
Yay! Well, actually, we have, as far as social breakdown, you want to try and have a variety of anything and everything you could almost think to have. And first thing I'm actually going to pull out, I heard something about peace of mind. This is just kind of a representation. You might want to just think of keeping those items like your favorite book, or especially if you have a child, that security blanket to help you stay in that right frame of mind.
That comfort item.
Exactly.
Call that.
Exactly.
And not just for kids, for adults too. A pack of cards. I'm a big fan of chewing gum, which is like a guilty little pleasure. Those little pieces.
Nice. We also have, actually,
This
my
is a
personal.
good book too. It's
yes,
fables.
It is.
nice.
Certain fables. But we actually, in the case of a social breakdown, you might not have that opportunity where those of us with corrective lenses, whatnot, you might not be able to go down to the store and get more contacts. So, even if it's a cheap pair of glasses, whatnot, you really should have one, maybe a backup pair, just in case. So there's
Backups are good. That's
Exactly.
kind of
Great
the key
idea.
to it.
And on that same state of mind, you might not be able to get to your corner drugstore. So if you have backups of any kind of medication you might need, and backups to your backups in case you go through your medications rather quickly. And would you like to touch on this?
This is just a flash drive, and what I did is I took all my important documents, birth certificates, military documents, and anyway, scanned them into the computer and created a backup, because I've pretty much got my whole life on this, and if I have to run out the door with it in my pocket, it can be retrieved. So if there were a fire, you know, and I'm in my cabin and I don't have time to go through all those files, well, at least I have something.
Yep.
And
know.
you could do pictures on there too.
Your family albums, awesome point. I'm glad you brought that up. Your pictures, anything that's personal to you, and they hold so much information. There's no reason. They're very inexpensive. What else we got?
Well, this is kind of the paper side of important documents. You know, if you have your titles to your home and whatnot as well, just know where they are. Ooh, shiny.
Oh, pretty.
Barter items are a really nice idea to have. Now, you can trade, if you're into melting, it is illegal to melt currency, FYI. And if you want to use that for bartering, you can also think of things like produce, practical items, you know. If you've got-
Cigarettes.
Exactly, go the prison
Tobacco
way.
and alcohol.
Yep. Exactly. And then we have, I'm going to let you take it.
Just a ham radio communication. So if I got to run out the door, I have some emergency communications to contact friends or family members or seek help.
Exactly. And this is kind of 2-in-1 here. We have ammunition.
Yeah, and talking about social breakdown, sometimes you may have to defend yourself. So in this case, some people may choose to have a firearm. And if you do, you need to have the skills and the extra ammo so that you can protect yourself.
Come back after the break and we'll go into more detail about some of these things, and we're going to have another awesome contest in this episode.
Yes, always have a fun contest.
Awesome.
This contest deals with knives
Uh-oh.
and other stuff.
I'll trade you.
Yeah.